Has changed in the last year since the Hamas attacks on October 7th? Monday, tomorrow, is October 7th. So we're going to take a look at how we got here. Let's go right now. October 7th, the attacks. It happened in 2023. The Hamas terrorists stormed the music festival in Israel. This was a surprise attack, right? 1,200 or more were killed, 6,900 or more were injured, and 251 people were taken hostage. Israel launches its war in Gaza, and the U.S. vows support immediately after, sending planes and warships. This was the biggest attack on Jews since the Holocaust. Now let's take a look here. The Israel-Hamas war. Israel invades the Gaza Strip, right? This is the timeline. There were anti-war protesting that was just erupting across the United States, largely on college campuses that we saw as well this year. The ceasefire started on November 22nd, 2023. Talks to extend the ceasefire collapsed on December 2nd, but this is when we saw that first round of hostages be released, the only round of hostages released. 97 people are still being held hostage by Hamas. All right. So who are the bad actors in the region? All of these groups are funded by Iran. Take a look at this. Hezbollah, Hamas, the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, the Houthis, and several Iran-aligned militia groups in Iraq and Syria. So it's always really important to remember where all these tentacles are coming from, and also how this impacts the United States, right? We still have all these troops in the Middle East. We call them assets, but I think it's really important to remember these are actual people, right, with loved ones at home. So we need to make sure that our troops are safe as well. Right now, we're gonna go to somebody who was actually there. IDF reservist Nimrod Palmach. So Nimrod, we'll go ahead and talk to you. You actually went to the festival to help out. Can you describe your experience on October 7th, 1 year ago?
Yes, thank you very much for having me. I was one of the first responders to actually get to the Gaza envelope, and I actually defied my commander orders in order to get there, realizing that Hamas had went on a massacre spread around not just the festival, but also communities with innocent families, babies, kids, mothers and fathers. And throughout the day, I got to fight against Hamas militants and terrorists. I took weapons from dead soldiers, Israeli IDF soldiers. When I met, I took their weapons and I fought off Hamas terrorists as I go. Throughout the day, I witnessed many, unfortunately, bodies of young kids from the party. Their entire crime was they just wanted to celebrate. And by the way, they were not just Jews. The majority were Jews, but there were Christians, even Muslims in this party from many nationalities. And I got to see it with my own eyes, the atrocities. And I'm saying not just evidence of brutal killing, but also evidence for torturing and raping bodies of young, both men and women on that day.
Gosh, just animals, just awful, awful. I spoke with a former hostage this morning, Aviva Siegel. She was captured alongside her husband, Keith, on October 7th during all this horror that you're talking about. She was released in the ceasefire 50 days later. Her husband, Keith, is an American. He's still in Hamas's custody. Here's what Aviva told me.
When the Hamas terrorists started shooting a house and walking inside and opening the door in such an easy way, I didn't even feel my body. I was in a complete and utterly hysteria. Keith, what saved us, put his head on his knees and his hands on his head, and they didn't kill us because of that, because my whole neighborhood is all killed or kidnapped.
She also said she was starved while she was there, and they would eat in front of her, and they would touch the girls there to bother them and to do anything they could to torment them. How do stories like Aviva and Keith impact you as you continue to fight to work and bring hostages home, like these American hostages, the four you see on your screen?
Unfortunately, I heard and met so many stories like that, and I was shocked in the beginning of the war, right after October 7th, to see the denounce and to see so many, unfortunately, also Americans saying that it was all a lie, it's propaganda of Israel, it's not really happened, or the Me Too movement does not apply for Jews, we're not believing you. Show us evidence that your women have been raped. I was in shock to see that. That's what drove me. By the way, while I was fighting, I documented with my iPhone pictures and videos, and that's what eventually allowed me to establish the Survive to Tell project, where we ultimately brought 2 US campuses in order to fight ignorism and anti-Semitism stories of survivors, both from the festival and from the communities, on a VR, on a 3D, two campuses where it allows them to actually be present and to talk after empathy, after emotions. That's what we try to do in America campuses.
Well, tomorrow is the one-year mark as we keep talking about thousands of protesters across the globe are taking to the streets already ahead of this grim anniversary. But there's a lot of critics of even protesting. Is now an appropriate time to protest? And do you worry that these demonstrations could spark more anti-Semitism?
Unfortunately, these movements already exist in America. I think that, number one, it's not just Israel fight against Hamas. This is Western world civilization values that we share together, of human rights, of democracy, of empathy and love, against a community that cherishes death and destruction, and we have to fight it. I feel that Israel is fighting not just on our rights to exist, but as a wall breaker to this radicalism in the world and barbarism. So number one, we have to continue fight, and we need America's support. But the second thing, we have to get to this American audience, because in my belief, the silent majority doesn't really know what's happening in Israel. If you even put the map, most of them won't really know how to explain what is Palestine, what is Israel. And I believe we need to come there to the campuses, and we need to create meaningful dialogues with this silent majority that is willing to create a conversation with us, and actually to be able to show them what we're doing.
We've got synagogues on alert in big cities and small cities across the country. The NYPD is preparing for mass protests potentially tomorrow. What's your message for leaders both in the United States and for even the Prime Minister in Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu?
I think both America and Israel, we have to stay united in this fight. Time will tell, but this is crucial times of humankind history. This is the axis of evil that try to destroy our own values. And this time, it's Israel in the front. Tomorrow, it's in your backyard in America. And I just need to think we have to be united. We have to stay together in this.
IDF reservist Nimrod Palmont, thank you for sharing your insight and your story. Have a good day.
Thank you very much.
Best wishes tomorrow.